Hi, everyone. And thank you so much if you are watching this on the replay. This is my first ever live stream on YouTube. So fingers crossed that this goes well. And if you are here live, please let me know in the comments that you can hear me. So I have already done a couple of tests today and nobody could hear me. So that would be super, super helpful. And just knowing that apparently there's a little bit of a delay. So when I say something and then your comments get to me, it might be a little while. So it doesn't mean that I'm ignoring you at all. But if you are here, please let me know that you can hear me. Lovely. So my technical support from FluTube is saying it looks great, it sounds great. Okay, thank you so much. So I'm here today to talk about yoga for scoliosis. And if you know my channel already, you will know that this is what I do. I am a yoga teacher and I specialize in teaching yoga for those that suffer from scoliosis or any spinal conditions. So if that is you, feel free to let me know if you've got any questions, obviously, and you are more than welcome to join my Facebook group. It's completely free, and yes, you'll find lots of inspiration, motivation from others. There's over 2,500 people in there who suffer from scoliosis. How amazing is that? And we share. Some people like to share their x-rays, or they share what they're going through at the moment, bearing in mind that obviously scoliosis is not only a physical condition. So yes, you might have back pain, you might have you might have problems, obviously, with some people have problems with breathing, for example, but it's also a emotional condition, so sometimes it can come with other problems as well. Good. And so amazing. So Hege is here. Hi, Hege, and she's saying sounds good. Thank you so much. That is super helpful. And Mariam is here as well. So she's also saying she can hear me. Fantastic. Um, Good. So Mariam is saying, what poses do you recommend for someone with right lumbar scoliosis? So great question. And so yoga, for example, just let me start from the beginning. So yoga is not so much something that I would prescribe specific poses for specific curvatures, even though you might find some of my YouTube videos where I do suggest particular poses for different curvatures, but it's more how you practice. So you can practice any pose that feels good in your body, but then you adjust it to your curvature. So that's how I approach it. Having said that, if you have lumbar scoliosis, you probably have an unevenness in your pelvis. You might have problems with your SI joint, sacroiliac joint. Um, there might be all sorts of things going on kind of in the pelvic region. And for that, I would always suggest strengthening. So strengthening poses are really, really good. So I would probably work on building up core strength. I would work on building up kind of strengthening the glutes. This whole kind of midsection is what you want to keep really strong and really stable. But then if you are talking about a specific curvature, again, it kind of depends on what else is going on in your body. So it might be that, it depends on your age, for example. It depends on what are your symptoms? Do you have back pain at the moment? Do you have lower back pain? Do you have sciatica? Do you have problems that come up more in your shoulders and in your neck? And again, this is very common for lumbar scoliosis actually to have problems with their neck and with their shoulders as well, because the imbalance starts lower in the body, but then it shows up a little bit higher in the body. So I always start with the symptoms. I always start with what is there right now, and this is why when I start my practice, I usually start just kind of by lying down and establishing how I feel right now, right in this moment. And then I can kind of tailor my practice around this, and I can think about some poses that are really beneficial for me. So, Mariam, I would love to hear, what do you know about your scoliosis? Do you know how big your curvature is? Um, do you know, well, do you have any symptoms at the moment? Do you have any back pain or anything that is showing up for you at the moment? And obviously, anyone who's here, let me know how you're getting on with your scoliosis. Do you practice yoga at the moment, or is this kind of a completely new world for you? And I know Hege, for example, who's here, and I know that you are a seasoned yogi already, which is amazing. And for in my what we do in my course, which has just started actually, so we've started a new group in 4 weeks yoga for scoliosis, and we have people that are completely new, and then we have people as well that are yoga teachers, for example, and that have been practicing for a long time. Good. So Mariam is saying it's not that big, but it causes me lower back pain. Yes. And that's also something I would like to say that the degree of your curvature is not doesn't always 100% correspond to the amount of pain. It's not proportional to the amount of pain that you might be experiencing. So that is just something to keep in mind. Sometimes people say, "Oh, I only have a mild scoliosis, but I am in a lot of pain." And very often I find that lumbar curves, and this is just from working with people one-on-one, lumbar curves seem to have more problems than thoracic curves, which is interesting, isn't it? Good. Lovely. Hege saying the biggest challenge right now is the emotional struggle. I'm also in perimenopause. What is your thoughts about that? So, perimenopause, menopause, that is the time when there's change, obviously, and that is also the time where we're a little bit more vulnerable to your scoliosis getting worse, for example. But it's also a really, really good time to change up your yoga practice and maybe bring a little bit more kind of a little bit more strengthening poses in if you don't have too much back pain. Um, and yes, with regards to emotional struggle, I do hear that. I do hear that a lot. So again, this is obviously a time where things change and our bodies change. And this is not to be underestimated. And sometimes or most of the time, we have to really keep in mind that we are more than just our bodies, and um, the emotional aspects are so important. And there have been all kinds of studies about this, that people who suffer from back pain, there's usually something else going on in their lives. So maybe kind of think about what else is going on in your life, and stress is obviously one of the major factors as well that um, can cause back pain. So Miriam is saying, I do Shroff method to correct it. Yes, and have you watched Meredith's, my interview with Meredith on Saturday? That is really amazing. So she is a Shroff therapist and she's a yoga teacher. So we have been chatting, and there's more coming up from her and me as well very soon. Good. Where can we get more information on the course? So you can find it on my website, and you have all the links below, obviously, in the description, which I will put up later. I will link to all the course as well directly, so you can find it on there. We are in the middle of it right now, but I will have another one coming up in October, so you can pre-register for that. Good. So you're welcome, Mariam. I answered your question. Good. Lovely. Emma saying I have an S-shaped curve, but it's starting to hurt my shoulder blades and under them too. Is that normal? Yes. So I would assume, yeah. And tell me which way it's going, but most S curves go on the right, to the right on the top, and then to the left at the bottom. Very often people have pain around the shoulder blades just underneath, and that is just it's a very tricky area because there is also a rotation that comes with scoliosis, and the rib cage is slightly rotated, so obviously this affects the position of the shoulder blades, and there can be a lot of tightness in this area. So this is an area I have to work on this constantly as well, but I do a lot of restorative yoga. So I do a lot of kind of softening and releasing. Relaxation is one of the best things, and a really nice pose to do is just to lie on your belly. And I like to support this with a yoga bolster, for example, and then supporting the forehead and just kind of breathing into the back and breathing into that space in between the shoulder blades. That can feel really, really nice. And then just kind of little movements and kind of gentle kind of twisting and wiggling around. And there's different yoga poses that you can do to release this area. Good. Mohit is saying how to work out without worsening scoliosis curve. So first of all, I think it's amazing that you're considering working out, because that is the best thing for you to do. So the worst thing would be not to do anything. And anyone that I speak to is saying the same thing. If you don't do anything, and I'm not just talking about scoliosis, I'm just talking about physical movement, exercise. If you do not do anything, most likely you're going to be in pain at some point, and you're probably going to make it worse. So your best option is to, even if you not even do anything specific for your curvature, you're going to do something good for your body at the end of the day. And building up strength, building up that kind of flexibility, and all of that is really, really crucial for your scoliosis not to get worse. Because we have to keep in mind that gravity will pull us all the time into a direction, specific direction, downwards. And obviously, if there's a curvature already in your spine, then it will just, with gravity, it will just get worse and worse and worse. So any physical movement, especially anything up with where you can have reach the arms up over the head, climbing, for example, swimming, anything like that is really, really beneficial. And then in terms of making it worse, the only I cannot even think about that many exercises that would make it worse, but trampolining is something that is definitely not suggested. And then the other thing, obviously, that you want to do, if you know your curve pattern, then you can get really, really specific, and you can really, really get into the areas where you need to lengthen a little bit more, when you need more support and strengthen. And again, for that one, it's best to work with someone one-on-one. I run my 4 weeks yoga for scoliosis course every 3 months. So the next one is coming up in October. I've also got an interview coming up with Dr. Lauren Fishman. Now, Dr. Lauren Fishman has done a lot of research on how you can reduce your scoliosis. And I'm not talking about reducing the curvature, with targeted, specific, simple yoga poses. So I'm going to be chatting with him on the 16th of June, and you can sign up for that as well. You can either drop me an email and I send you a link. You can find it on my website as well, which is yogaberry.net, and that's going to be amazing. So if you are interested in this, then please do sign up for that. Good. So what is restorative yoga? Now, restorative yoga is a type of yoga which is a little bit more quiet. There's less movement, there's hardly any movement, but we use lots of props like yoga bolsters, blocks, cushions, blankets to support the body, to bring it in a comfortable, easeful position, and then we relax. So it's kind of a proactive way of relaxing. Rather than not doing anything, we are actually doing something, because we put the body in specific yoga poses, even where we can open, where we can promote the breath. And it's a great way of getting into meditation as well without kind of sitting still for long periods of time. So it's a really, really nice way. And Judith Hanson Lasseter is probably the pioneer in this field, restorative yoga. So do look her up. She's got a fantastic book as well. I've trained with her. So she's a great teacher for restorative yoga. Good. I'm loving all your questions. Keep them coming. And I'm so happy that you're supporting me here live today because, as I said before, this is my first live stream here on YouTube, and I am going to do this regularly. I am sending it out to the world now. So Wednesdays, 4 p.m. UK time, I'll be here, 20 minutes, half an hour, and I'm looking to get some people on here as well to talk to me. So if you have people that you think, or if you are someone who works with people that suffer from scoliosis, do get in touch. I'd love to talk to you. And there's loads of you around, obviously. Good. Lovely. Is it okay to keep cracking to relieve stiffness? What can I do about this? So, what do you mean? What are you cracking? Is my question. Uh, is it like the knuckle crackling and stuff like that? Is it in your back? Um, I would, if you enjoy this, if you enjoy the cracking and you find that it gives you relief, I would see a chiropractor, because at least they can do it properly and they can give you a targeted kind of manipulation. That's what they call it, isn't it? But I would probably not recommend keeping on cracking this way. And this is something, I'm not a physiotherapist, I'm not a doctor at all, so I am a yoga teacher. But just from my own body, what I have discovered is usually when things make a noise in my shoulder, for example, in my knee lately, I've got some clicking and crackling going on. It's usually a sign of instability. It's something isn't quite strong enough. And again, I would get this checked out, if this is something that is happening all the time. And yet, so Priya saying, in the back, um, and I can kind of imagine what you might be experiencing that, and sometimes this can feel really nice. However, you might be better off just getting a good chiropractic adjustment and then keep it moving. So it's probably that something gets a little bit stuck. So FluTube is saying he likes this Q&A format. Thank you. So yes, I did mention it. It probably came up with a delay, but yes, we're going to be doing this every week. I am committing to it right now, 4 o'clock on Wednesdays. Good. So Mohit is saying, thanks for answering. Got to know about your channel just 5 days back. Excellent. And you're here today. Your simplified version of explanation is easy to understand. Good. I feel way more relieved than ever before, after following you. Oh, thank you so much. That's really, really good to hear. And this is really what, this is why I started the channel. It's not because I have all the answers of what is going on with and how to heal scoliosis. Um, it's about creating this community where we can have this open conversation, where we can look at different treatment options, managing backs, and share what we're going through. Because I have found with my own scoliosis journey that the worst thing about it is that you kind of feel like nobody understands exactly what you are going through, or what is actually happening. And even if you go and see doctors or chiropractors, they might even say, well, there's not much we can do about this, because obviously they see it from their perspective. But for you, it's something that you are living with, and that is going to be there at the end of the day for the rest of your life. So it's about finding a way to manage it, and to learn how to love your body at the end of the day. Good. Yoti saying, can yoga cure mild lumbar scoliosis completely? So, curing always sounds to me as if you think that it's a disease, and no, it's not a disease, it's a condition, it's a spinal condition. And curing it, so let's not say curing, let's say maybe reducing it. Um, and it kind of depends on how old you are. I have seen young people, so especially teenagers, if they are still growing, or the younger the better, really. If you do something about it early, then you can actually correct it. However, if you get to a certain age, it's very much unlikely. So it becomes more about maintaining it, making sure it doesn't get worse. So that's going to be your goal. It depends on how old you are, and you might be very young, and then there might still be ways to deal with that. Good. So is a 15-degree curve for a 12-year-old lichen to worsen in the future? Um, there's a few ways of measuring this, and again, it's probably best to talk to a doctor about this, because there's a way they can measure how much the child is still going to grow. And if they still have a lot of growth left, then there's a higher chance, obviously, that it will get worse. And 15 degrees in a child is very different to 15 degrees in an adult. So yes, I would check with someone who knows about this and who can measure how much growth there is left. And for girls, for example, they say is the period started or not. That's another kind of indicator of how much there still can kind of go wrong at the end of the day. And then they will suggest a brace probably. Good. Any specific way to run or walk? Um, this kind of it depends on the type of scoliosis you have. I'm not a runner, by the way, so I'm not an expert on kind of running. I do walk, but I don't really run. But yes, you want to have generally good posture, obviously. You want to make sure that you just kind of be aware of how you walk next time you're out for a walk, and maybe look at if there's one. So what I do sometimes is you look at the stride of your foot. Do you take one foot a lot further than the other? And this is very often something to do with lumbar scoliosis and the rotation. And that's just something to kind of to notice. Good. So Yoti is saying 20. Now, what was your question? Oh, this was about the mild scoliosis. So you might not be completely straight spine, um, but at 20, you're in the best position now, because at the end you're not growing anymore. So it's stable where it is. So you don't have to worry about it getting worse. Especially if it's mild. So it's probably kind of there where it's hopefully staying. And then for you, it's your job is to stay strong, or to build up some more body strength, to make sure that you are healthy and that you prepare yourself for these years where things can get a little bit more difficult. So you're kind of planning ahead. And I know this is difficult for when you're 20, and it's probably not something that I was looking to do when I was 20. But think about, obviously later years, when you're 30, whatever, having children, when you're 40, when maybe I don't know what you do for a job, but you might be in a job where you have to sit for long periods of time, and there's things that obviously can come up there, that you might get a little bit more back pain, for example. So it's just kind of making sure that you establish a good routine right now. It's going to serve you so much. And anyone, if you're here and you are in your 40s, 50s, they will tell you, I wish I had done something in my 20s if they haven't already, obviously. That is always kind of the number one regret, because it's the time that you hopefully have the energy that you can actually do something about it. Good, that was a very long-winded explanation, but there you go. Good. A whole plant-based diet has helped my recovery. The extra energy I get is very helpful for every yoga session. Also getting plenty of sleep. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. And I am looking for someone, a nutritionist, who can talk to us about this, because I am very interested in that as well, to know a little bit more about this. So Jishnu is saying, I'm having left lumbar right thoracic scoliosis. My sternum is protruded outwards, which restricts me in bending forward. Any specific postures I need to look up to? So it sounds like your thoracic curve is a bit larger. I mean, again, without kind of seeing you, obviously, it's very, very difficult to comment on this. So it restricts me in bending forward, ending any specific postures. So my question would be, where does it restrict you, and how much does this bother you? Is it about kind of tying up your shoes, or is it about getting yourself into a more advanced yoga pose? So is it for kind of day-to-day normal activities that it's not happening, or is it in a yoga class? But obviously, I would probably, it sounds like a flexibility issue to me. It might be your hamstring, so I would need a little bit more information. But I would probably start the way I start usually people off is with any yoga poses in all fours. For example, cat-cow pose, just bringing in a little bit more mobility, a little bit more awareness, a little bit more prana, a little bit more breath into the spine. Good. Lovely. Thank you so much for everyone who's here today. I think we're going to leave it at that. So make a note in your diary, 4 p.m. UK time every Wednesday. So whatever that means for you in your time zone, I will be here. I will answer your questions. I get lots and lots of questions in my Facebook group. So make sure that you join that as well. If you want to keep the conversation going, obviously, chat to each other here, make those connections. And yes, I will see you next week. So thank you so much again. And I talk to you soon.